Yeah, hit the button.
Hey, what's up, everybody? And no, Jamie Vick, the schedule did not change. We had to do it for old times. I had to be a little bit late, uh, you know, cause kids. Anyways, my
No, I
daughter's
think she
13.
means, did you change the schedule because you're supposed to do a live stream at 10 tonight, guy?
Oh, no, no. We're ballsy here. We're gonna do a full series review, and then I'm gonna jump right into the next scheduled stream. So this ought to be fun. I figured we could talk about uh pretty much everything. I mean, we'll glaze over some of the previous seasons because it's like 7 years of television. So we'll mostly talk about the final season, but I kind of want to just touch on the show as a whole, and we can get into why we like it, where it fits into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and how I feel. And I don't know about you, PB, but I feel
Oh,
like
it fits into the MCU?
yeah. We'll talk about some very vague connections, and they get more vague as you go on. But I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing. I think it's both a good and a bad thing because it allowed the show to do what it wanted to do without having to be held directly. And why I bring this up is because now they're doing shows that will directly connect in the future of the movies. So it'll be like a movie will connect to a show. And we were talking about this earlier. And I think Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was that first template, about toying with the idea of making a television show that connected, and then like it kind of diverged
Right.
because
It was
they couldn't
that's
get
because
everybody.
Coulson is the glue, except they didn't want to tell all of the Avengers that he was alive.
Yeah, which I found really weird. Um, but there's a lot of callbacks, a lot of Easter eggs. You could see in the show where certain events from the movie didn't affect the story of the show, but they affected the world of the show. So let's talk about, first off, this is probably one of the biggest budget shows that ABC had ever gotten to begin with. Because I remember, and I'm gonna fuck with you here because you just said you couldn't remember the first episode, and
No
I just
shit.
previously watched every single Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And then the final season I just finished. And I remember watching the first episode when they showed Coulson's flying car, and they had the deal with Deathlock before he's Deathlock and all that. And by the way, we're gonna have some spoilers. So, uh, but anyways, and I thought to myself, this show is far too good to be on this station. This is probably one of the most high budgeted shows that I think ABC got. And I'm pretty sure Disney had already had Marvel, right? At this time, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Disney's already was in that the
Yeah,
deal,
I'm
I
pretty
want to say.
sure that they did at that time. If it's 2020 right now and it's been on for 7 years and they took that extra year off, that I'm pretty sure that show started up right after they bought it. Because the show started right after the first Avengers movie, which was technically released by Paramount, but had been purchased by Disney. As in, Disney owned it at that point, but it was still being distributed by Paramount. It's fucking weird, but that's how it was set up.
Yeah, it was kind of like with the Fox deal where the last of the old slate is New Mutants, which I'll have a review for that. And surprisingly, and maybe it's because I lowered my bar with Dark Phoenix, but surprisingly not as bad as Dark Phoenix. You could tell where there were edits and rewrites, but it was very enjoyable. But anyways, that's not the point. The Fox deal kind of feels the same way, where the company's still distributing certain things, but there was a changeover happening as they were doing it until they completely made it, Marvel, Disney, or whatever the hell they go over these days. That before it became the MCU that we know, and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is the brainchild. And quick synopsis for all you guys who don't know: it focuses around our favorite character, the glue of the team, Philip J. Coulson, who is brought back to life. You don't find this out till later, but you kind of in a mystery, like how is he alive? Because he got stabbed through the chest, and they did the whole he was dead
Hey
thing.
man,
But
everybody should take a vacation to Tahiti.
it's a magical place. But
Yep, the
you
magic
know,
of Disney.
before we get into the final season and everything else and really start diving deep into this, I wanted to say very few television shows have gave me a satisfied and or satisfying ending, a good wrap up. And I count this as one of them. Like I've had The Shield, uh, The Sopranos is a hit or miss, and Breaking Bad have been the shows where I felt completely satisfied after watching the whole entire series and seeing it where it all leads. Thought that was going to be Game of Thrones, but we know what happened there. I'm still not bitter about that. But this show,
Liar.
this show, uh, has definitely had some of the best things. So let's just get into first the cast. We got Philip Coulson, who's the leader. We've got Melinda May, who's
That's the
the cavalry.
cavalry. Just call her by her name.
We have Fitz and Gemma. They're
You
the
mean
science nerds.
Fitzsimmons.
Fitzsimmons, yes, and Gemma.
Do you have any
God here,
idea?
but
Okay, so going back to season one, I don't remember how long it takes into season one before you're revealed who Fitz and Simmons are. But did you also think that it was one person for a while?
yes, yes, I did
Okay.
because the way they did the name, it sounded like one person, and then you find out it's a girl and a guy. Oh yeah, we have Ward, who will later leave Shield permanently.
Well, no, he didn't leave Shield. In fact, he got closer than ever. What are you talking about?
And we had that was pretty much the main cast, and then people dropped in, dropped out.
Oh, I guess, yeah. You can't really count. Oh gosh, I can't remember his name, but her name was Bobby.
Yep,
Like they
Bobby.
were technically main characters as far as being on the team, but then they got cycled out for oh, who was the chick that was guarding the pod there in the final season? You know who I'm talking
Uh,
about.
yeah, I know who you're talking about. I just finished up with it, so I didn't write notes or anything. I just wanted to do like a raw reaction. So
Right,
there was a
yeah. The
lot of
chick with
stuff.
short hair, everybody would know who I was talking about. I can't remember her name off the top of my head. They replaced them. And then what we got, you end up picking up Mac and Yo-Yo and who else turns into a main
Deke.
character? Deke. Yep, that's the last one.
Yeah. And then yeah, I think that's it. And then they had the sub characters, those other two random agents that are there. I just call them Agent One and Agent Two because for the life of me, I can't remember. They went on the space journey with them and everything else, but I still can't remember their names. So because they're like
Oh
they
yeah.
want you know who I'm talking about though. They wanted to make the main characters, but they didn't have as much charisma as other people they introduced. And yeah, Jamie Vick, it's okay. We're going to make compelling reasons why you should really watch the rest of it because the first four seasons were great. Five I thought was spectacular.
It was
Six,
season 5 LMD.
yeah. Yeah, or no. Season five is the one with the Quaking the World. Yeah,
Oh, season 5 is
yeah,
when we're dealing with Lighthouse on a Shell.
yep. And then they had the sixth season is kind of really forgettable. And then we have the seventh season. The
Okay,
sixth season,
who would you say the main villain is of season 6? Why am I drawing a blank right now? Is it the Chronicoms or not?
it that's the problem I had with season 6 because it's Sarge for a while, and then it switches between the Chronicons, and so it's really tough to pick out a villain. I think it's kind of split between Sarge, which is just Philip Coulson doppelganger. I don't know. Uh, Alternate reality. That's when they start kind of leading into season
No, right.
seven's
You
timelines.
can call him Evil Coulson.
Yeah, evil Phil Coulson, which I thought was great. I will say to Greg Clark, who plays
Clark
Coulson, he does
Gregg?
Clark Gregg. Sorry, you know how I am with Earth names.
Jesus
Anyways,
Christ.
he does a phenomenal job because for what up to this point, 5 years he's been the
Did you
good
tweet
guy.
this out?
Yeah, I did twice.
Okay. Damn.
But yeah, we'll just keep on going until we get some people. Who knows?
No, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off and derail the point you were making.
But yeah, it was the highlight for me of season 6 was seeing that switch. And when you play a good guy for so long, it's hard to sell being a bad guy. And I think he did a really good job of it because you kind of see the shades of regular, normal, good guy Coulson there. But then, he does something mess up, like just shoot someone or something like that. Like the introduction, I'm going to say, took me by surprise when he told the guy, like he was holding the girl, like his comrade, I forget her name, the one who says everyone's going to become a butterfly, that crazy bitch. He was like, the dude, the dude was holding them, and he goes, I'm only going to ask you twice. And the guy keeps on talking, and he's like, you. And then he just shoots him. He goes, I told you I was only going to ask you twice. I was like, wow, like that took me by surprise. And look, I hate the internet because I had spoilers and I knew that Coulson wasn't dead, because they can't
Oh,
keep
so
any
you
secrets
knew
on the
that
internet.
Jon Snow was alive.
Yes, I did. But you know, but they didn't get the gravity of that scene, like how they were going to introduce him, and it was pretty badass. So the show a lot to me was not necessarily what you knew was going to happen, but how the show executes this particular things. Also too, even in the newer episodes, with them dealing with with um female characters. I felt like this show was the best show that made believable characters because they just didn't take a female and just make her powerful. There's a lot of times where the women would get beat up, and I there was in season 5 there was kind of a little bit of a switch, and I didn't like the thing with Melinda and Yo-Yo. I thought that was kind of very political, but for the most part, the show does keep the politics to a very minimal. There was actually some funny jokes in there that were clearly politically based, but it was just hilarious because of I'm like, oh, I see what you did there. But it was very clever writing. They had very clever writing. It never felt one-sided, and it felt like the characters earned the power. Like, for instance, the best character for this, and let's talk about probably our favorite character, Daisy. Uh,
No.
her.
Hold on. My favorite character is Sky.
Oh, okay. Well, she is Sky for like the first 2 or 3 seasons, and then we find out her name is Daisy. But yes, Sky. Sky is one of the best developed female characters. I'll just throw this statement out that I've seen in a television show in a very long time because you can track from season 1 all the way to this last season. She doesn't just get like powered up. Even when she gets her abilities and becomes
Even
an
when she
inhuman.
literally gets powered up, she doesn't get powered up.
Yeah, it never felt like watching this show, it never felt like we see her true power until just about the end of the show, or even when she faces Talbot in that season. You never really
Well,
feel like you're
I would
seeing.
say this the time that we get the sense of her most true power, we don't even technically get to see it because we just see the aftermath because they say, "Hey, you're the person that quaked the earth in half." And this is what we're left with.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fact. Okay, let's do the inverse and look at Captain Marvel, right? They promo she's
Oh,
the
your
most.
favorite.
They promo
I
she's
knew
the
you'd
most
want to
powerful.
talk about her. I was like, "Oh, we're talking Marvel. How long until he brings up his favorite character?" We made it almost 16 minutes.
Well, it's a good reference point because there's always a talk about how they overpower female characters, right? The whole diversity play. But with the best part about this character and the best part about Sky and the actress and everything is that one, I watched the behind the scenes because I brought some of it on Amazon,
I
which I'm not
bet you
plugging them.
were watching her behind the scenes.
But she did a lot of those stunts in that show. She went through training and stuff for the show, combat training and stuff like that. And you can see it when she fights in the show. Her moves and the way that she does things. I mean, the Hurricanrana thing is cool and flashy, but I mean, unpractical. But the practical fighting, you can see like she's had some kind of training or she knows what she's doing in the show. And you can see like they just don't start her out as this badass. She starts out literally as the team's hacker. That's it. And then,
Right, no.
you know,
She's right. She's a badass hacker, but she is not a badass agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. And she definitely isn't a badass superhero because I would say, and I don't know how many other people out there would agree with me, that she's made it to the level of superhero. She might not be on the A squad of the 6 people that the camera pans around, but she's on the team.
oh yeah, I mean, when you can quake the world, you're getting towards Thor level power right there.
Was that a question?
No, no, that was just a declarative statement. I mean,
Oh,
when
I
when
mean,
you when
I don't know
I
exactly
mean,
what Thor could do. That's a damn good question where she would rank on the power level because obviously she's below your favorite Captain Marvel because as she
uh,
told us, she's the strongest Avenger.
yeah, so I mean, in terms of seasons, I'm just gonna do a brief little synopsis here. The first one kind of introduces you to the team, the world of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Quick
It
question.
does,
Does it
yes.
introduce us to the British guy who's Bobby's boyfriend in season 1?
No, no, that comes later. I think it's season 2 and 3 they were in that. Yeah, it's two because that's when, yeah, 2 and 3 because Ward comes back as that thing.
Okay.
Or the I forgot his name. The living
Hive.
weapon thing. Hive. There we go. Yeah, he literally becomes Hive. Yeah, that they
So,
were in three
okay. Who's
and two.
all on the team in season 1? Coulson,
Season
Daisy,
Ward, Fitz, and Simmons
and
or
May.
and May. Those
Okay.
were the originals, the OGs. And when you see this team, and even if you just watch the first four seasons, that they are very like a tight knit team, and a lot of stuff happens. And the great thing is that I felt like with this show, the 22 episodes are actually pretty warranted because the story shifts about midway, and you start out with them going on an adventure on a week, kind of a thing, the adventure of the week, whatever. And then you kind of get this shift
Yeah,
where you
they're
start getting
agents of
into,
S.H.I.E.L.D. They got to put down the current threat. They're not building towards some massive thing that's going on, even though they are.
yes, because the first season covers this group Hive, which we find out later is actually the subgroup of Hydra, but Hive is building this army. They use this Project Centipede. It gives soldiers it enhances the human body and their abilities and stuff. The first one is August J. August, who's actually, I think he got the job because he was on Buffy a lot. He was on Buffy and Angel. Um, he plays Deathlock later. That's also a big comic book character. But anyways, he's the first one they experiment on. But the side effect is the people tend to go crazy, so they perfect it, and then it's mostly Shield against Hive trying to take them down. And then later on, we find out that Hive is actually Hydra, and there's a big coup. Now, this is the part where it connects with the MCU and why it's one of my favorite seasons. I loved we had Samuel L. Jackson. Like, what a big get. They got Samuel L. Jackson in like 3 of the episodes, and Bill
Holy
Paxton.
shit.
Yeah. I mean, that is to me like I remember first watching it before I did my rewatch, and I was like, holy fuck, Samuel L. Jackson's on a TV show? Like that. I mean, at this time you didn't have a lot of movie stars crossing over into television. It was just starting to be big. It wasn't like everyone was doing Netflix movies. This was before
Hey, man, this
that.
is the show.
This
At
was
least it
the
was.
show. Yeah, that did that. This was the show that showed you can have big name stars in it. And Samuel L. Jackson's cameo isn't that big, but he is a big vital part at the end of season 1. And Bill Paxton is actually the villain of season 1. And the first like Deathlock, I guess. He was the
Interesting.
first one.
So that's two movie stars in a show. You know what show does that now?
But
Stargirl.
that's true. Yeah, that's true. I like to think that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did kind of put that out there that you can have people that are in movies doing television shows. So it was very interesting to see
Hey, man,
that
people
they.
like job security if they're willing to work for what you're paying them. What the hell? Why not?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, we had some pretty good people. Overall, I know you probably vaguely remember season 1, but what did you think of the first season?
I mean, I know that, trying to think back because I probably never rewatched the first season because I was too busy at the time, probably rewatching The Avengers or Iron Man, which I still continue to rewatch. That's not the point. The point is, season 1 was great because of how interconnected it was with the universe. You know, I'm a sucker for that shit.
I know. And
And
this was
put up
when they
Jamie
were
Vick's comment,
which one?
the most recent one.
I will do that on your
No, no,
recommendation.
no. She said season 1 was a lot about Tahiti.
Yes. Yes, it was. Um
That's because
that
they
w
were trying to, if I remember correctly, which it's a while ago, they were trying to remember how he was brought back to life, correct?
Yeah, that season was mostly Coulson trying to figure out once he figured out he was actually dead, why they brought him back, and then he found the alien and everything else. Now here's my problem with season 1 because we'll give minor critiques too, and I want to give mine. My problem was, and I hate to say that I agree with the critics because it very rarely happens, but the problem that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. has, and this will follow other seasons, but sometimes the front end of the season is so long setting up. Like when they get to the point, that shit is action packed. Like when you get about 10 episodes in, you don't even realize how hooked you are. But getting through those first couple of episodes, if you like click this off after like 2 or 3 episodes, you're going to be kicking yourself because it does take a while to kind of, kick in. I feel like there's a lot of setup, which necessarily isn't a bad thing, but I feel like that's what turns some people off when watching this because God forbid, we have a show that does character development or world building or any of that stuff. But I feel
No,
like
they just want they want to eat the cake as soon as it's been stirred. They don't want to take the time to bake it.
great analogy.
Dude, food
Yeah.
analogies are wonderful because just about everybody out there can get them. If I try going to a sports analogy, you got at least a third of the nerd audience that's like, what is sports? And you got another third that's like, I don't watch that sport. So there's not a whole lot of people that be getting my sports analogies.
But yeah, I mean, I agree. Like,
You got to
but
bake the cake.
you got to bake the cake. That's right. And, I'm used to that. But even I have to say, there's some times in the show, and that would be my one major critique, where you have some seasons where the whole entire season is just action packed. Like the season with Hive, the whole season was damn good. Like I was not like there were any episodes where I
Well,
was like,
yeah,
yeah,
doesn't
come on.
he get back to Earth on like episode 2 or 3?
Yeah, like they didn't fuck around season 3. That was like they were like boom, boom, boom. I was like shit was going down like constantly, and I was so enthralled because the guy who plays Wart, such a great job. And then when he switched to Hive, because he was a bad guy, but Hive was different because he wasn't like maniacally bad. It was more of a very cold, calculating kind of a thing. He didn't
Well, yeah,
feel
that's because
this.
he's a hive mind.
Yeah, he didn't feel like the same kind of evil. So it was interesting watching
Yeah,
him
he's
play
evil
that
the same
character.
way that the Borg is evil. The Borg isn't necessarily evil, except for the fact that they're evil as fuck.
So, I mean, hats off to that. That was great. And wouldn't you say though that at some points in Agents of Shield, those first couple episodes do kind of lag a bit? Like,
I
when you're
mean,
watching the first half.
it's quite possible because I do remember first season, second season, third season, before you get to Ghost Rider, I believe.
Oh,
Like
that was my
before that,
favorite season. You know how I feel. We'll get
I
into that.
know.
I'm
So
gonna shill the
before you
shit out of
get to that, I
that.
do remember always having the feeling of, okay, when am I going to get this either nugget of information that's going to connect it to either the movie that just came out, the movie that's going to come out, or I guess just one of the movies that have been out so I can know how it's placed because I guess I appreciate Easter eggs, which holy shit, if there wasn't a butt ton of Easter eggs in them last couple episodes. Like, God, it seemed every scene had 2 or 3 of people just saying random stuff. Like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
a guy that I once knew back in the day said that it required experimentation. I fucking lost my shit. And Andrea's like, What are you laughing about? I was like, are you kidding me right now? I know you've watched that movie like 30 or 40 times. How can you not get this freaking Easter egg? What is going on right now? But yeah, in those first couple seasons, I just remember waiting for not necessarily a hero to show up because at no point was I expecting Iron Man, Captain America, Thor to show up on screen, but possibly have like how they had Lady Sif show up. Like she's a hero from the
oh yeah.
movies, but she's not like any of the lead characters. You got all kinds of characters like that that you could have show up. I mean, Kat Dennings, she does TV shows. You could have had her show up and say, "Oh yeah, my boss is in the other room." So then there you're like, "Oh, well, I know Natalie Portman is in the other room right now, and I can just know that without seeing her. Then kind of waste the money to pay her to come for one day of shooting." Like you can do little stuff like that, and it seemed like those types of things were lacking, or maybe I was just expecting more of them. I don't know. But yeah, I can see why it would feel like it lags in between the shifts that they have when they're ramping up, or what should I say, changing the storyline.
Oh yeah, yeah. And in the subsequent seasons, you can definitely see, like, even in season 4, they broke it up where it was like Ghost Rider, and they even changed the emblem, and then LMD, which is Life Model Decoy, if anyone didn't know. A
Okay.
little bit of nerd talk there. But yeah,
Okay. Jamie Vick says, when you think about it, though, a few episodes of setting up the characters is nothing compared to 7 seasons. You have to have a good foundation to have a great show. Damn
yeah,
straight.
yeah, and I think that is one strength, because there's my nitpick, but one strength of this show is the character development is phenomenal. I want to highlight something. Josh Whedon is one of my favorite directors. He's done a lot of great.
I, I don't, I don't, I don't mean to laugh at you. Are you up to date on the boys? Yes or no?
Yes, yes, yes. I
Okay, so
seen
you
that.
saw the jab that they took?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Oh man, I
like.
almost fell out of my damn chair. I was like, yes, all hail our Lord and Savior, Zack Snyder.
Yeah, it was great to see that. The boys, we got to talk about the boys. Maybe we'll do one of these discussions on that. But yeah, so I'm not one who like takes a lot of jabs at Joss Whedon, because people forget he created some of the most famous and some big cult hits. He did Firefly, Dollhouse, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel. I mean, the Avengers 1 and 2, and you could say what you
No,
want
but
about 2,
everybody
but
hates Age of Ultron because apparently the robot isn't menacing enough, I guess.
yeah, but you know what? People are stupid. Uh,
He's fine.
you know, I I I just thought, like, this is my thing. I think that you could see, and I think where Josh Whedon shines the most is this long story format, because going through every season, it always feels like, and now seeing it to completed, it feels like the show always had a plan. Like, at first they were kind of beholden to where they were in the cinematic universe, but once they
Oh,
started getting
right.
away
Yeah.
from
It
it.
totally seemed like they're like, okay, this is where we are real time. The show is real time. So we can't like reach for this bigger story because we're beholden to where we are in the MCU.
And once they broke that and they just started making vague references, it felt like the show had more of a general direction and a plan. And it still was comics accurate. I know you're a big fan of source material, but I'm just gonna say I've read Inhumans. They're one of my favorite groups besides the X-Men for different reasons. And I read the Quake comics and all that, and she is
She
a
has
big
a
part.
comic?
Oh yeah, there.
You
Quake
didn't
was a.
tell me that there was a Sky comic.
Oh yeah, Quake is like the Inhumans is part of a big part of the comic
No, but
universe.
like the Inhumans, I knew that they had their own comic. I didn't know that she had her own run of a comic.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So why
It
did they
was like
decide to put her on this show if she has her own comic?
that's why I said hashtag Quake spinoff. But anyways,
No,
um,
I want a full-fledged movie. They're already out in space, man. Well, I guess I jumped ahead a little bit, but yeah, they're out there.
but I mean, you know, swinging back, it was good to see them touch. Like Hive is a villain. It was good to have him. Deathlock is a anti-hero in the comics. They hit all of the people that the MCU would have never covered in the movies. So it was good to have a show that kind of stuck to where they were, but later on deviated a
No,
bit and was allowed to tell its own
that is
stories.
interesting because I wondered once or twice some of the villains that I had seen in the show. I was like, well, how would this guy have looked if Talbot would have been in the movies and they turned him into Gravitron in the movie with a bigger budget? Because all they did in the show was give him a different suit and gave him the ability to fly. I didn't do
Well,
nothing to him.
actually, to tell you the truth, he looked comic accurate. I actually had to
Wait,
do a double
you're
take
telling me I don't know the actor's name, but you're telling me that actor looks like what the guy is drawn like in the comic, or at least similar?
to the T, man. I was like, holy shit. Uh Even if you play the Marvel Strike Force game, which uses the
No.
characters from well, it uses the designs from the comic books rather than the actual
Wait, you play
movies
Marvel Strike Force?
when I used to. But though I
Oh.
had Graviton before I quit. So Graviton, he looked like that model. Like I had to do a double take. I looked up images. I was like, holy shit, they were so accurate. Ghost Rider, let me tell you something. Ghost Rider looked the best he's ever looked in any medium. Was what they did on Agents
I
of
mean,
S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't know what the
I
budget
agree
was,
with
but
that. He
like,
looked way better in the show than he did in either of the movies, and I don't care about the bike. I'm just talking about standing there in the room with his head on fire.
and just the way the CGI like would melt the face off, not really melt, but it kind of just like turned
Oh
to
yeah,
ash
the
and
way,
disappear.
yeah, I know what you're talking about. It was bitching.
Yeah, yeah, like there was there was a level of care you can see in this show to the
See, and
material, but to the story
I
too.
didn't know up front the first time that I seen it, and I was like, oh, a Ghost Rider. And then I was like, oh, this isn't a guy with the same name as a Ghost Rider from the movies. And he's not on a motorcycle, he's in a car. And I was like, oh, this must be Miles Morales Ghost Rider.
Actually, this is a funny story. Now that we're kind of hopping around, but just to make this point, the Robbie Raines Ghost Rider was actually the
Reyes?
second, or Reyes, yeah. It was one of the second most popular Ghost Rider. It's not like a Spider-Man situation where Miles kind of became famous now because they did a really good animated movie on him. Uh, a lot of people didn't like Miles
I
Morales when
was
he first
just
came out in
saying it that
comics.
way because he was an alternate version of the same character.
Oh yeah, I'm swinging back to that point.
Oh,
So like, unlike Miles Morales, a lot more people accepted Robbie Reyes because of the way they introduced him in the comics was exactly how they did in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The original Ghost Rider handpicked him because Johnny Blaze, uh, each person who's got the mantle, they have a limited amount of time and then they pass it off. So he handpicked him.
right.
So it didn't feel forced when you're reading it. It's just like part of the mythology of the Ghost Rider. It's stated several times before they chose a new Ghost Rider. So a lot of people like him. They didn't like he got rid of the motorcycle, but people. But that's still a fucking awesome car. And eventually people accepted the car, and he became the second most powerful. As a matter of fact, Black Panther has had the Ghost Rider in him. The Hulk, uh, several of the
That
MCU
sounds
characters.
dangerous.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was it was Immortal Hulk or something like that. He made a
Like,
deal with
how
Ghost
you
Rider.
find a motorcycle big enough for him? You got to go to the same mechanic that Lobo goes to, and that's not even in the same comic book universe.
No, he jumped really far. He wasn't getting on a motorcycle. But
Ghost Rider's
I
got
mean,
to drive something. That's terrible.
yeah, he only had him
His
for
name
like
is
an issue.
Ghost Rider, not Ghost Jumper.
But yeah, I mean, it was a bunch of interesting things. Punishers had the Ghost Rider, a bunch of heroes. It's jumped from body to body, but the two main people have been Johnny Blaze and Robbie Reyes, and it was really cool. And I know, I know why they went with Robbie. And this is kind of where they sneak in the political stuff, because of the time frame that season 4 is at, the whole Latin American, they were
What,
clearly
season four
wanted
come
to
out
use
in
them.
like 2016?
Yeah, around there. So that was that
Oh,
shift. And
hail
that's
Trump.
that's one thing I wanted to put out. You could see not much, but like I was watching season 6 and stuff, and I could kind of see a little bit, like, for instance, season 5 had the girls a little bit more powered up than normal. There were like, I respect May, but there was a ridiculous fight that I wanted to highlight, where she was fighting Sarge's group, and she fights that big dude. And granted, she doesn't win very easily, but to me, I was like,
The big dude. Shit, why can't I picture the big dude?
the big guy with the goatee, like, huffs gasoline or something because he can't
Is
breathe
he
the atmosphere.
is his head shaved bald?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's like really huge. They have a fight, and granted, she does use some objects and things like that, but like, she takes him down. I'm like, no, you're getting kind of far fetched with that. Don't get me wrong. May's a badass. She's fought Inhumans. She's proved herself through the series, where I
Wait
could
a
kind of let
second.
it pass.
How big is Jet Li?
Uh, Jesus, I don't know, dwarf size, like four something.
Okay, if Jet Li took this motherfucker down, would you be saying the same thing?
Yeah, it depends on how Jet Li did it, but I've seen Jet Li fight big guys in movies, and he doesn't win very easily.
And she lost. Or I guess she
She,
didn't win very easily with objects.
yeah, but she more lost because they threw that little, like, portal thing that they shipped through. They threw it on the ground, and she
Okay,
fell through
yeah.
like, I got the sense like she could have taken them all out if they didn't do that maneuver or whatever, and that's kind of where I call bullshit on some of the fights. And you could also see in season 5 where there were more girls fighting girls instead of, like, you know, if you go to season 1, Grant and May have an amazing fight, and he actually beats the fuck out of her. I mean, she beats the fuck out of him too, but I mean, he punches her like a dude, and I like that sense of equality. Like, a lot of fights, you know what? It's gonna sound
I
bad,
need my
okay?
TV shows to beat down the women for equality.
Yeah,
That's a special statement. Hey, what's up, comic chat?
Hey, what's up, comic chat? And hey, I'm going to set up something with power. I'm still working out a lot of this stuff. I want to,
Oh,
like,
Perp said it was disastrous.
yeah,
He said he
I'm
knows how us Star Wars fans feel now. And I was like, so is The Last Jedi still a masterpiece? He goes, yeah. And LB goes, shut the fuck up.
But yeah, comic comics chat. Let me know. Hit me up in the direct message. We'll talk about it because I got a lot of feelings about that. I'm gonna have to say I side a lot with Perp on his thoughts. It's not the same feel, but I'm willing to give a show a couple of episodes.
Perp is wrong. The shit is fire.
Comics chat. There's certain aspects. I watched the second episode. I'm like, it's getting a little bit better. But yeah, as far as it goes, I think that you can see the politics. But here's the thing we talk about. Look, everything from now until probably the end of time now is going to have politics in it. We can't avoid it. Uh, but it's how you weave your story and if the politics overtake the story. And I don't know about you, but I feel like with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it never overpowers the story. There's a couple of jokes here and there, a couple of overpowered female fights here and there, but I never felt like they were
No,
putting
and I
them.
would say that there's even points in the show, and I can't remember them specifically, and I wish that I could. I'd have to go back and watch the show. And I swear to God, there are points in the show where they don't deal with some, let's, as I would say, frivolous PC bullshit because they have to go and take care of something for the mission. Like, yeah, it would be great for us to help out these disenfranchised people, but we got to go take care of this problem.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's even okay. The one thing I appreciated about season 5 was they're on another planet or they're on planet Earth, but it's like another timeline or some shit. We're getting a lot into Avengers Infinity War at this time and into Endgame and Ant-Man and stuff. So they're bringing up the timeline stuff. And the thing that I liked was they were on that poor colony with those people, but they basically left them there. I mean, they killed the main guy who was in charge, which, by the way, I thought that
The
first arc
Kree,
was kind of boring. Yeah, the Kree guy. I mean, they had that big fight. They took the guy out, right? But he was about to detonate the planet, and there was a whole debate on what was morally right about this, right?
I
Like,
mean, you say detonate the planet, I would say detonate the eggshell.
yeah. The point is they had the option of either going back and changing the timeline or staying there and trying to make a difference and save what was left. And they're like, well, if we could just change and stop this from happening, then by default we'll save the people. But when you think about it, those people, if they're in a separate timeline and everything, they're
That's not
still
how time travel works, at least the way that I understand it. Like the people there, they still died. It's
yeah,
not
they
like
still
Back to the
existed.
Future,
Yeah, they were still people within that timeline. So I like the fact
which they
that they
kind of solved that problem in season 7.
yeah. We're gonna get to season 7. I'm just kind of doing a catch up so we can highlight all the great points of the show, and then we're gonna dive and
No, this
mostly
is
talk about
wonderful.
season
You're
7.
like taking me down memory lane here.
Yeah. There's a lot of good memories, and I'm bringing it to that because I'm gonna tell you why this ending to the whole entire series. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know about you. We're men. We don't gotta admit this, but if you had to say you got emotional, would you say yes or no?
Wait a second. What
Like the once a
constitutes
year,
emotional in your book? Like, I have
the
3 stages of emotional. Like, you got
like
the welling up of emotion. You have the watering of eyes of emotion, and then you have the running of tears of emotion. Like, that's 3 different stages of feelings that I can have towards these characters that are trying to make me feel all these warm, fuzzy feelings on the inside. So,
okay,
which one are you looking for?
which stage were you at during that quite possibly very emotional final?
Um, I was in between stage 1 and 2.
Okay, all right. I was about two or three. But
Almost had the tears running down. I
yeah,
mean, it was
yeah, I
close. It
love.
was close. I mean, I say in between one and two, but it was damn close to getting watery eyes. I was like, fuck, man. And all I could, I guess what was getting to me the most, now that you've posed the question, because I was just sitting here with the wife watching it, and I had started watching the show. Oh, gosh. I don't remember if I started watching it before we got together. We got together in 2012. When did this freaking show start?
Oh God, like
I know they took
uh,
that year off, so
yeah,
it's got to be close.
yeah, it's close, like maybe 2010.
So she might have been watching it with me at the beginning. I don't remember. I know that she started watching it with me before we got to Winter Soldier because I was like, okay, we can watch up to this episode and then no more because that's when the movie came out and they will tell us something that happened in the movie in the TV show if we go ahead in the TV show. And I was fucking correct. They're like, and I don't know if it was the next episode or the one after, but they said, "Oh yeah, the Triskelion got blew up." I was like, "I fucking told you." And
Yep,
yeah, through
yep.
the whole last episode, I'm sitting here going, "It's over, man. I'm never gonna get any more of these characters all together." And then when they say in the last episode, they're like, when they, spoiler alert, leave Deke all alone. They say this is the last time we'll ever all be together. I was like, oh. And then I thought for a second, I was like, oh, well, they can just go in through time and wait, no, they can't go through time and pick him up. He's in an alternate timeline. Shit. Because I thought for a second, I was like, wait a second, he's just going to show up in the future, right? He just, time will have elapsed and he'll just be an old man. And for a second, I thought that, okay, they're going to get back to 2020. So it'll be another 50 years. And he's what, like in his maybe mid 20s, something like
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah, about
So,
there.
like, he's going to be in his mid 50s, maybe, let's say he's 30. So he'll be like 60 or something. I thought that he was going to have just showed up as an old man and have some, like, Captain America moment with all of them. And then it dawned on me, I was like, fuck, he's in an alternate reality. Fuck.
Yeah, and that's the thing that
And then I was sad.
that's the thing that was great about this episode, especially like that bar scene, and we'll talk about that when we get into the final season. That bar
The,
scene is what
the,
grabbed me.
the,
I was
the,
just like,
the
I
you
can't
talking
I can't
about
do
the wait.
this.
Which bar scene? I thought you were talking about the John Garrett bar scene.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
very short.
Yeah. And I was like, oh man, this is I mean, and then when they're all talking at the end, and this is it and blah blah blah, and you got them slowly disappearing. I was just like, and then it gets to Coulson and Daisy, which felt so it felt like a full circle thing because essentially those two are, to me, out of everyone, and they got great character development for all of the characters of the show, but out of everyone, I feel like that's really the heart of the show. Like,
Oh yeah, because he's essentially her stand-in father.
yeah, like, and the way they built it up, it was very well done. And even when her parents come back, it always like it always felt like they were the strangers, and that's what made that conflict so good. Like, they built such a great relationship, and to see them like talk it out and have this heartfelt talk at the end, it was very well done. And I just think I've seen some reviews on it. I just think it's crazy. People who are like, oh, it ended so whatever. And I go, no, if you really watch the show, it all comes full circle with that talk and with just them, because essentially the show is just about them. I
No,
mean, you
what
got
I
the other
want to
people.
see is Coulson giving Daisy some hacking lessons now that he's a supercomputer.
Yeah, that yeah, that
You
was great.
understand this? No, I don't.
But I mean, it really shows like the progression of the show, and really it shows you how much this show is a study of characters. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff for us comic book fans in this show. A lot of explosions, a lot of awesome battle sequences, some villains we know and love or recognize if we're comic book readers, or if you're not and you're just being introduced. But it also, more importantly, and this is the one big thing that Josh Whedon and Jed Whedon do, which if everyone doesn't know, that's his brother. They are very good.
Oh, I was wondering. I saw his
Yeah,
name in the credits and I was like, huh, I wonder how they're related.
they're very good at writing characters. Like all of their shows, if you ever watch them from Firefly to Dollhouse, they're great at world building and pulling you in, but they're very focused on the people. And that's what gets you invested, because the characters, one of them you'll relate to. They make very relatable characters, and villains that aren't really villains, Even like the hardest villain for me was season 5 Talbot, because I followed Talbot, and yeah, he was an asshole or whatever, but I was in the military and I understood where he was coming from when he turned. I was like, I don't even know if he's really a villain, because I do understand why he's doing what he's doing and what he wants to accomplish. And that is good writing, when a writer understands characters that connect with people. And like, I was just like, I would
Oh,
probably
I was
totally do the same
wondering.
thing.
No, I was wondering the reason for Jamie Vick's previous comment, and it was to put you in your place. Okay, so now it makes perfect sense. I will read them all together. Jamie Vick says, when I was 12, I was 4'9" and 85 pounds. My brother was 5'3", 165 pounds. I beat his ass so bad that to this day, no one in my family will even challenge me. And I'm the smallest of all 11 of us. So, moral of the story is that girls/women can fight and win, even against a man. General Zod.
Oh wow. This is why I love to have these discussions though. I love having you guys' input. It's always fun, even when I get those spicy comments. It's fun to have these discussions because yeah, my mom, same thing. PB, you've met my mom.
Yeah, she's a
Uh,
goddamn firecracker.
yeah, yeah. My mom has beaten grown men. I'm referring to when we're talking about a fight, and we're talking about 500 pounds of muscle versus 130 just by the mass and the weight and everything else. Could you win the fight? I'm not saying you couldn't. Yeah, you could. Would I say it'd be easy? No, not at all. Not at all. And I felt like some of the stuff that they put in was not conducive to how the fight would have went down. I felt like the fights in the previous seasons were more accurate because, like, for instance, she had a couple of fights with Bobby. There was a great fight she had with Ward, right?
I
They're
love
both
Bobby.
trained. Yeah, they're both trained. Bobby's a badass, but she's on definitely on the she's tall, but she's definitely not built. She's tall, she's petite, but she has this sense of confidence, badass, whatever.
What
She
what do you
sells
what
the
do you
role.
mean petite? She's She's just as big as Wonder Woman. She was going to play Wonder Woman in a TV show or the movie or something.
TV show probably.
TV
Uh,
show.
yeah, Gal Gadot's got that movie role locked
No,
down for
this
the
was a
next
long
100
time
years.
ago.
But yeah, I mean, no, so no, I don't discount that. I'm saying you also got to bring into a fight, and this is from years of my military background and being a martial arts instructor and seeing fights firsthand.
Oh,
You have to account for, and this is myself too. I'm not the biggest guy. I couldn't win every fight. Even guys out there, not just because you're a guy, you're not going to win a fucking fight. Okay, you're
I'm
not
winning this
everyone's
fight right now.
not everyone's jingle up and damn whatever. You could be beat too. But what I'm saying is that unfortunately, physical attributes and things like that do account in a fight. Strength is a big factor. One lucky punch could determine everything, or someone just being downright stronger than you does account for something. I mean, you punch someone in the face and you're not, no matter how much force you put into it, you can, get that look where they just kind of turn their head and they look back and you go, oh shit. And you realize you did absolutely
Oh,
nothing but
now
piss them off.
this is a wonderful comment from a woman. Jamie Vick says, "You have to know how to use what you have."
Oh, I 100% agree. And see, my
Exactly.
whole
Distraction. Tank top.
damn it, PB. But I mean, my whole thing is just I felt like some of the fights were just kind of a plug, a nod because of the change of era. I'm more talking about you could tell the change of year as you go through the show and where we are politically, climate, the climate wise. And, not to say I don't enjoy the scenes because unlike Captain Marvel, I never found one. I don't know about you. I never found one scene of this show boring ever. None of the fights ever bored me. Nothing like that. It never felt like a chore getting through it.
Sorry, once again, not laughing at you, but technically, I'm laughing at you. Jamie Vick says, taking one more shot at Zod, mental strength is just as important as physical strength.
Yes, that is true. But
That's
how
why
you show
Zod
that,
don't be winning no fights. That mental strength lacking.
but it's also important too to show that in the show if they outsmart the person. I'm talking about a brute force fight against someone now. If you show them using things like we've seen some stuff in Shield where they've set traps and things like that and weaken the person to then take the high ground, so to speak, then
Ah,
you know that's a totally different ballgame. But I agree. When you talk about the difference between men and women, right? No one can deny women, as far as mental attributes, will beat a guy 90% of the time. they have us in that arena a lot
we're
of the time.
easily distracted.
Oh, without a doubt. And it's not that we're distracted, but they know what to say to get us. Like if you've ever been in an argument, you know what I'm talking about. They
I've
know
been in
just the
plenty
right.
of arguments, guy. I must hang out in that 10% a lot.
Yep. I mean, that there's a lot of times where they just say something and you're just like, it doesn't hit you right away, but you let it simmer,
I
and
feel
it's
like
like a
you
time bomb.
fall for a lot of unicorn traps.
Oh, don't let the magical unicorn fool you. When she wants to impale me with that horn, oh boy.
Nope, nope. Moving forward.
So, anyways, But yeah, we've had so seasons 1, 2, and 3 kind of deal with Hive and Hydra. They destroy Hydra. Season
They
4
destroy
takes a turn.
Hydra because they destroyed the frickin' Triskelion in what fucking movie? Winter Soldier? No?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was Winter Soldier.
So that's when the show was still directly connected to the movies.
And then we get to season 4, and they get kind of brave and bold. They go to the Ghost Rider arc. This is arguably probably the best season, at least in my opinion. And they split it, and both parts I thought were brilliant. They do the Ghost Rider and the LMD storyline, and I gotta say, this is probably my favorite season. I'd have to say, even like this and the last season would be my two, like my top ones. It's hard because one's in there somewhere too, but I'd
I
have to
mean,
say
it'd be
this
tough.
was
I would
number
have to
one.
go back and rewatch because the determining factors for me for what my favorite seasons are going to be are what's going on in the B plot with the B characters. So, do you enjoy following Bobby and her boyfriend on their adventures more than you enjoy following, I don't fucking know, Mac and Yo Yo on their adventures?
It's tough, man, because I liked Bobby and the British guy, but I love Mac and Yo Yo.
No, I
I
liked
have
it, but the
to.
story has consequences and they don't just go back on it, which I appreciate.
Matt G, welcome. I really cared about the show, but had to stop watching after season 5. Oh yeah, I
What?
mean, some
What did he
people,
think it took some type of Game of Thrones turn? Because it didn't.
yeah, some people stopped. I'll admit, five took a while. I'm gonna just say this: the first half of 5, I did not like. I was not very thrilled with the whole outer
What
space
the hell
thing.
is the? Oh, that's when they're in deep space.
Yeah, it's like I found it very hard to get through till you get to like the end of 5 when they finally face the big bad Kree guy, and it's important to like the later episodes because the thing that he drinks comes back, to become that big like monster that just wants to kill you. But
That's what
I
monsters
just
do.
I didn't really like it. Um, I don't know. It lost something for me. But then the second half of 5 was really good. I really enjoyed it. That was with Graviton, and
And
I
once
thought,
again, we're connected to the movie universe.
yeah, yeah. Oh, I see what Matt G says. Oh, I like 5, but when they ignored the snap, I had to stop. See, I didn't mind that.
Oh, I thought,
I didn't.
okay, wait a second. I thought that they didn't ignore the snap. I thought that's when they went to an alternate timeline.
Yeah, see, okay,
Is
so
that
here's
not
the
when the
thing.
time travel started?
Yeah, here's the thing that people didn't get about it, but I'm gonna break it down because I watched it, I analyzed it. They were in a different alternate reality, and it was stated that the snap affected people that were in that reality. Hence, Ant-Man in Endgame, remember, he didn't get snapped out. He was in the quantum realm. The quantum realm is between time and space, so the snap wouldn't affect him because he's essentially between times or timelines. He's like basically in a limbo. So when the snap
Yes,
happens,
he's
it's
out
only
of
snapping
time.
people. Yeah, it's only snapping people in that reality. Just like in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., remember, they traveled an alternate possible timeline that they changed when they got back to the present. But when they were in that Kree, the world had been destroyed thing, the world had been destroyed by something else. Therefore, it's a completely different timeline because if Thanos destroyed half the population, then that would cancel out what Quake did because Quake
Okay,
destroyed half the population with her Quake.
so when what Talbot being Graviton, he does whatever he's gonna do, doesn't stop Thanos. The snap happens, and that is when they go immediately back in time or
No,
forward in time.
when they were forward in time, that's when the snap was happening. And when the graviton thing happened and his whole reason was to stop this greater alien, that's when they traveled back to their current timeline. But after she defeated Graviton and stopped that apocalypse, she altered the timeline. So essentially,
Oh, I get what
Thanos
you're
never
saying.
comes,
They
basically.
were in the future while the snap happened and then came back to the present after it happened.
Yeah, to prevent it. And yes, in a sense, Thanos had never got there. And then they altered it again because she beat Graviton because that was supposed to be the reason why the world was quaked. It wasn't actually her, it was Graviton. But being that
That
she
time
stopped him,
travel's tricky.
they altered it yet again. So in their universe, who knows what changed from the original designated Marvel timeline? And this is
Yeah, who
my
knows
issue
who
with them
changed
using
as
time
long as
travel.
they change their underwear.
Yeah, that's the big problem when you introduce time travel is that you can explain away stuff like that. And that's why I think they use that a lot is when they don't want to like DC does that too at Flashpoint all the time. They reset stuff. They're like, oh yeah, all that stuff that happened. Flash just ran back in the past. It doesn't exist. We're starting over. That's like their reset button. So it's kind of
Yeah,
like the
it's
same thing.
very, very disenchanting. Like people say there are no fucking consequences in the MCU. Like there are zero consequences in DC because they're just like, just run real fast.
So I mean, yeah. So like when season 6 happened, that's why you had dual Coulsons because that Coulson was from an alternate type of thing, and he was jumping between dimensions or whatever else. But he was, you know, he was still Coulson, but Coulson from another timeline that figured out how to jump in between timelines, and
Exactly.
that's why he recognized the name but didn't quite put it together until the end of that season. That was the whole thing. So I mean, I can
And I
understand
like
how they
Evil
could.
Coulson.
Oh yeah, yeah, I can understand how they could completely
Any
bypass that.
anytime that I see somebody on a TV show go from being the good guy for years and years and years to being the bad guy, I was like, oh, they're pulling a Hollywood Hogan.
Did you want to read this comment?
Oh, sure, I can read the comment. Matt G says Lucasfilm has done a much better of TV. Wait a second, that's not a real sentence. A much better job of TV movie connections. Ahsoka Tano is everything Daisy could have been but isn't. Unless Daisy gets put into a film or Disney Plus show. Well, what? Oh, no. See, I got to disagree with that. Like, what? So, because Ahsoka Tano went from being in an animated show on Disney Plus into a live action show on Disney Plus, she's got more character to her than someone who was, oh, uh, forgive me. I forgot that she was also on an animated show on Disney XD, right? Isn't that what it was on?
Yep.
Yeah, don't want to leave that one out. but she's better than someone who was on a live action show on network television for 7 seasons. I don't understand that comprehension. Like Ahsoka Tano ain't in any of the movies. She's not in a
I
single movie.
mean,
She's not even mentioned in the movies.
actually, they did have a Clone Wars movie that flopped in the
We're
theaters, but
not
yeah,
talking about and where did that come out?
it came out before Clone Wars. It was
No,
like
where? Not when. Where? Didn't come
the
out in my
Clone Wars
theater.
movie. Oh, that was in most theaters. I forgot. I'd have to get the year, but yeah, it came out nationwide. Like I said, it wasn't out for long because a lot of people didn't go to see it. But yeah, it was a full-fledged feature film released in theaters.
Which was just them taking 3 episodes and putting it together.
No, it was like its own movie. It actually launched a Clone Wars television show.
I mean, I
Clone
swear
Wars
to God,
tel
I've seen it before.
no, it's separate. It's its own thing. There was the micro series which came first, and then the Clone Wars movie, and then the Clone Wars show. So I mean,
Yeah, I know. You get
technically,
to see all the awesome stuff in the original show,
yeah, I
2003.
mean, but I would disagree too because when you look at them, first off, a lot of people hated Ahsoka in the beginning. She earned
Hey,
the
man,
respect.
let's put it here. I'll put it to you simply. Uh, Sky/Daisy, because she don't start off as Daisy, has more character development simply for the fact that she does not start off with the Force. Ahsoka
No,
does.
yeah, and I would agree. Like you can see character development in both of them, true. But
She ain't got no powers.
I would say Daisy has more because if you look from season one to now, she slowly builds her powers. Even when she gets her powers, and the great part was, I believe it was season two, where Genesis happened. It was like the midway. It was that switch they do in the show. Even when she gets her powers, she's actually terrified. And in season four, her powers physically hurt her. So that there's like a limiter on them. She just doesn't start out knowing what to do, knowing how to control it, being able to even physically handle it. It takes her quite a few years in Showtime to be able to even control the power to where she gets. That's why I don't feel like she was just she was just forced. She
Right, and then
earned
I'd
every
have to
bit of
go through
position.
and look at how many episodes that she's actually in because there are several Clone Wars episodes that have nothing to do with Ahsoka or Anakin. So they're not in them at all. It's like, here's Obi-Wan on a planet. Look at him do stuff on a planet. Oh, here are
Oh,
some bounty hunters doing some things. Ahsoka never shows up. How many episodes are there in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. that Daisy is not in? One? Two?
I think this is the amended statement here. You want to read that?
Oh, what amended statement? Matt G says Ahsoka fought alongside and against real Star Wars characters Obi-Wan, Anakin, the Emperor, Vader, etc. When did Daisy ever fight alongside a Avenger? It should be an Avenger, but it's okay. I'm saying this should have happened. I mean, who's to say that it isn't going to happen? If you look at my Twitter feed, that's what I was calling for. That's why we're doing this entire thing because the general looked at my Twitter feed and he's like, "Oh, I see that you've watched all of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D." And I was like, "Yes, yes, I have." So when are we getting this Quake movie?
Yeah. And he even says, I love Daisy's character. I felt she was not respected by Disney.
Huh.
That's a very interesting. That's a very interesting. That is a very interesting point. What do you feel about that point, PB? Because I feel like there might be some
I
merit
mean,
in that comment.
I need more specifics on how he would think that she wasn't respected by Disney. I don't know how, like, you're gonna go, you say, well, Bob Iger, Bobby I over there, he wasn't respecting women again.
Well,
I don't know what
first
connection
off,
there is directly there. I don't
first
know
off, I'd say this
what
would be more Kevin because
happened to
Kevin had.
her character because I didn't see her character fall off. I didn't see her like lose a lack of screen time.
I mean, I'd say this would be uh I think kind of like in relation to a Black Widow type situation where Black Widow should have had this movie way before now, right? Uh, Earn Her Street cred has been fighting alongside of the Avengers and just now finally getting the movie. So I think to his point is that Daisy is a phenomenally well developed character, but hasn't
I
had
mean,
the
everybody
opportunity.
says stuff like that. Oh, I don't know how many times I've heard somebody say something similar to, well, finally now we're getting the Black Widow movie. After all of these years, we're finally getting a Black Widow movie. I was like, first of all, okay, why is it such a big deal to you, whoever you are out there in the ether, that the movie is called Black Widow? Like, holy shit. She's damn near the main character in Iron Man 2. Okay, she's uh, another main character for sure in the first two Avengers films. She doesn't have as much a role in the third one, and then she's goddamn crucial for the fourth. So, with the way that the MCU is played out, I don't think that they were holding her back. I think that the Black Widow movie was always planned to come out after her death in Endgame.
I would say it would be more of I'd say it'd be more planned than the Star Wars movies.
Everything is more planned than the Star Wars movies. Fucking
But yeah,
the
I mean, I could,
Snyderverse is more planned than the Star Wars movies.
I think, and Matt G brings up points that I was talking about earlier. I think that this should have been more connected, but at the same time, when I watch how the end of
No,
the
yeah,
show
I
played
wish it
out,
was. I don't need the characters to show up. But like I said earlier, I just wanted the references of where we were specifically in the story. Like, hey, couple weeks ago this happened, or allude to stuff. Like, there wasn't as much foreshadowing for the movies that were coming up on the show as I thought there was going to be. There was a lot more after the fact.
yeah, and I think that's kind of where the show kind of was in this weird place where I felt like they wanted to connect it and they couldn't. And to Matt G's point, I think that is where the show kind of should have, where they promoted it as this thing that, yeah, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Phil Coulson is in the movie. You're going to get shit like directly connected to the MCU because this guy was in Avengers and he died and now he's back and he's got his own team. They kind of
He
made it
died,
feel like,
took a vacation to Tahiti, and now he's back.
yeah, and you kind of feel like there's going to be more stuff. Like Matt G says, Disney should have put her in a film, and a Avenger should come to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which Sif did, and she's not an Avenger, but she fought alongside Thor. Anyways, for
And you
me,
said Samuel L. Jackson was in 3 episodes of season 1, but
yeah,
then
that's
it
true.
definitely drops off after that.
Yeah,
Because I
season
think
one had
Lady Sif
Samuel L.
is in
Jackson.
season 2, right?
Mm-hmm. And 3.
So then,
She
yeah,
comes back in
after
2.
that, I don't remember the next time, if ever, a character from the movie drops into the TV shows.
And to be fair, he said Coulson never reunited with the Avengers. This is unacceptable. There was a reason, because they didn't want to go through the whole he went to Tahiti thing. They specifically say in the show that his death was the catalyst to bring them all together, and that
Dude,
taking
if Captain America was upset about the lies before, can you imagine how upset he would be about this one? No, you gotta not tell him the truth ever about this guy being alive.
yeah, and I think that was the thing that they were conveying, was that his death kind of was the glue for the Avengers coming together. To take away from that is, you know, it would take away from the first 2 movies. That would I see what they did. It would diminish the loss in Avengers 1. I mean, you still, when you see the show, you're like, oh, Phil's not dead. When you rewatch the movie now, you're like, oh, he'll go to Tahiti, he'll be fine. It loses that
No, but
impact. But
then,
when you
oh, that's another Easter egg that I loved in season 7. That was fucking hilarious. Almost fell out of my chair again.
all
You know
right,
what I'm
so
talking
you know what?
about?
Yes, I do. And you know what? Let's jump into season 7. I kind of got derailed. So we've had all this great stuff happen. We get to season 6. Uh, you know, um, I there's a lot of stuff going
Yep, we
on.
get to
Good
season
stuff.
6. Jon Snow survives.
So we're into 7. So season 7, boy, a lot happens. First off, I want to say I love the fact that they go back through and they kind of show you the beginnings of S.H.I.E.L.D, right? They're
Oh,
literally
that
doing
was
like
great.
time jumps. And it was great to see
The
all of the
Koenig.
yep. Yep. What did you think about the villains of this season?
Um, I thought that it was spectacular, although some of the, oh, how do I want to put it? The casting for younger versions of older characters may have been a little what I wasn't expecting. Some of them were perfect. And I was like, holy shit, yeah, that's definitely him as a younger man. I loved how they went through it because I was like, son of a bitch, we're going through the greatest hits of Shield villains. What's happening here? We're really fucking with time now, aren't we?
Yeah, I gotta say, like seeing some of the Shield villains, and I gotta say, one of my favorite characters returns. I love Grant Ward. He is one of my favorite characters. I felt like he was the most complex and
Oh,
most
totally. Because
compelling.
I thought not for a second in season 1 did I think that he was a bad guy. No way. I was like, yep, we're all good guys here. Excellent. This is Shield.
Yeah, and then he drops
Then he
Fitz
turns.
and Gemma out of a fucking plane.
And I was like,
Like,
wait, what? Wait, I lost it. But yeah, having bringing people back, especially him, that was spectacular. And then another character brought back, not from this show, but from maybe an even better show because of the lead character, Daniel Sousa from, oh, why can't I remember the name? What show was he on? Agent
um,
Carter.
yeah, there we go. I was like, shit, it's a yeah, Agent Carter, which
I couldn't
that was a
remember. I
show
was like,
canceled.
okay, how do they have it named? Because I knew it was, well, it's Marvel's Agent Carter, but whatever.
Yeah, and um,
Dude, bringing him back, that was freaking spectacular. I was not expecting that at all. Had to go to the internet, and then the first thing that I read is that, oh, they brought back, I don't remember the actor's name, for season 7 from the other show, but don't expect to see Peggy. And then I was sad. I was like, oh, you fuckers.
yeah, I always loved Peggy. I always thought like they should have just did a movie to wrap that up, or something, giving us something to wrap that show up because that was a good show, and
It was a great show.
I thought it could have been very interconnected too. If Peggy Carter and Shield were on at the same time, they could have did mad crossovers.
Oh, that would have been
So
great. Especially
yeah,
when they did time travel.
oh yeah, they could have had her guest star in a couple of episodes. They could have even had her in, the regular timeline. She would have been older, but makeup and shit. They could have had her do appearances because she was in. She died in one of the movies, but I don't believe it was Winter. Was it Winter Soldier? Yeah, it was Winter Soldier, but they still
Yeah,
could have had her
everything
in that.
happens in Winter Soldier.
Yeah, a lot. That was the big shift in Shield because that's when Shield was
But
on the run and
but
Coulson was
you know,
renegade.
as I'm told all the time on the internet, all the Marvel movies are the same. Sure they are. Sure they are.
Yeah, whether you like or hate Doctor Strange, that was the most unique one I'd say that came out. That was the first one where they're
Yeah,
like,
it
yeah,
was that
magic, it's a
was I
thing.
like to call it Marvel's Inception.
Yeah, that was the one where they were like, yeah, this isn't science. We're not going to use a science explanation. Magic exists. There you go. And
Movie time.
yeah, yeah. So, anyways, uh, they had a lot of good cameos, a lot of good Easter eggs in this. We did a lot of time jumps. What was your favorite time they were in?
Um Ooh, that's a damn good question. For the villains, I liked when they were in, was it 1932 or 1931 or something like that?
It was 35. I was gonna say the same thing. 1935 was my favorite one.
Yeah, that one was freaking spectacular because that was right when the bar started, right?
Yep.
I was like, oh, we're seeing how all of this stuff began. That was what I loved about the time travel aspect of the story was being able to see the backstory instead of the backstory being given to us through the rest of the story playing out, which is how you would typically do it. Or you'd have to, do flashbacks every now and again and be like, oh, this happened way back then. Be like, nope, we're just going to go back and it's going to be one giant ass flashback known as episode 2.
Yeah, and the thing that I
Or
like
was that
too is
episode
that
3?
some
I don't remember.
it was like I think it was three. But I also like too is that sometimes you get really lazy writing where they just monologue it. And we're like, well, in 1935, this and this happened, and that's how that was. They
Oh,
didn't phone that in. I appreciate
those
that.
are the worst.
Yeah, that's the kind of writing we got now. And that's why I wanted to highlight this because they
What's
didn't
up,
like,
bubblegum?
what up, all out of bubble gum? Good to see you. Hope you're still kicking ass. Anyways, uh, so it was good to see that they didn't just phone this in. They didn't. They took the time. It felt like this final
I
season.
mean, was that a pun? I feel like that's a season 7 pun that you say phone it in because that might have been. outside of the finale. That might have been
Yep.
my favorite episode when Enoch is in the bar and everyone's calling him, I'll transfer you. No, 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 no. I
uh,
want to talk to you, Enoch. I want to talk to you.
yeah. He was also another great addition to the show. But I mean, yeah, this was a really great season because they didn't just verbally tell us how these things were uh made or how they were started. They actually took the time to show us. And it's true. The final episode is probably the one with the least amount of action, but I'd say the most amount of emotional impact. The episode before is like your big, final battle between the good guys and the bad guys. That's the big finale. But I appreciate, as someone who critiques movies and television shows, I do appreciate an episode that has strong dialogue and does a quiet wrap up, but meaningful. They just don't do like a wrap up where like, oh, blah blah blah. It's like there's a lot of dialogue in the final episode, and it kind of finishes off what the previous episode was doing. But a lot of it, the goodbyes, was probably my favorite
Yeah,
part
I
of the
don't care. I
season.
needed that scene in the bar. And then I was sitting there and what they're talking for, I don't know, a minute or two. And then I think it was Daisy who glitches, and I was like, are none of them fucking there right now? What the fuck?
Yeah, that got me, and it was so emotional. And then you see when each of them end their call or whatever, you see where they are within the episode. And I just thought
Yep.
like everyone got the arc that they deserved. Mac fit really well, being the head, and with Yo-Yo and the rest of them. And then you had Daisy doing the what outer space thing. She's like in
Yeah,
deep
she's
space or
in deep
something.
space with the I guess she's the chick that looks like a lesbian because I can never remember her name. What is it, Reese?
Reese, yeah.
Yeah,
And
okay, yeah. She's out with her and whoever that other guy is. May is an instructor at the Colson Academy.
Academy. Yep, that was great. Like that was so fitting for her character. I love May, and I thought that was a great ending. And of course, you had Coulson, doing his thing. What is he now? I don't even know. Is he like a supercomputer genius? That went on.
He's like the world's greatest best LMD. I mean, he's still a LMD, right? That's like what
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
based
I mean,
on.
he's an
He's
LMD,
like a
but
LMD Chromicon combination with
he,
the soul of Coulson.
which I thought was just it's so great how they really
And
like
you want to hear something funny? So when
what
we got right to the end and Mac hands him the keys, I was like, "Oh, he's a mechanic. It's the keys to his car." And I said out loud, so the wife could hear me. I was like, "Yeah, but I bet it don't fucking fly." Immediately fucking wrong.
Yeah, and I don't want to say too much because Jamie Vick still has to watch it, so I don't want to spoil too much. But I will say,
Oh,
I felt, I felt like
I
a lot of
forgot.
it was Yeah, I felt like a lot of it was satisfying. Don't worry, Jamie Vick. You have to see it to know what we're talking about, and you will still feel all the same emotions we did. It was a very impactful uh, episode. It was very good. Um, Matt G
I
says
give
in
it
the
a
beginning,
9, maybe a
I give it a
9.5.
I give it, yeah, I'm about there, 9.5. Matt G says the beginning of season 5, when he asks Coulson, "What are you smoking?" when he thinks this space station was built by Stark, was great. Yeah, I agree. I get that reference because I recently watched it, but yeah, that's the great thing. And look, I think that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. left a good legacy. I think I do agree with some points that Matt G brought up. And we'll kind of start to wrap it up so that I can do a wind down before I go into my next stream where we'll talk about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, I gotta have some time off to eat some chicken wings, guy.
Yeah, and then you can talk about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which you haven't seen, but you can pretend like
Wait,
you
what?
have. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's tonight?
yeah, at 10.
Wait, I thought the stream tonight was with your dad.
Mm-hmm. We're talking about Charles Manson and how it relates to Once Upon a Time in uh
Oh, was I supposed to watch that movie?
well shit, you know what? Most critics don't watch the movies they review anyway, so you're fine.
That's fair. I can do that. I can, review the movie without watching it.
Just pull up a quick
I've
Google, a
seen the
couple of
last 20
scenes.
minutes. I've seen the last 20 minutes.
Oh, okay, so then you'll get the points we bring up. You're good.
Excellent.
I mean, I'd say go back through to catch all the little funny things, but the last 20 minutes is really the highlight. And we're gonna get into the real story. But anyways, shameless plug. Join me here at 10 p.m. Uh, to hear our critique of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and how it is great because it actually does follow the Charles Manson story up to the point. Quentin Tarantino, he puts his what if
Up
spin
to the
on everything.
Tarantino twist.
Yeah. Yeah. Jamie Vick
All
will
Out of
explain.
Bubblegum asked series finale, and I assume he's asking about S.H.I.E.L.D. or
Yes, this is
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah, we're
the
talking
series finale.
about, I guess, the series finale. We were talking about the entire series because the series finale aired, what, a month ago?
Yeah. And I just watched it recently because I want to go back through the whole thing. I hate like cutting off and having to be continued and then you have to wait. So I've always watched it one or two seasons later
Oh my
so I
God,
can.
guy.
Yeah, I hate those cliffhangers, man. I don't deal with them very well. And we're in 2020. I
I
don't have to
deal
deal
with
with
them just fine. I love me some cliffhangers.
it. But anyways, I got to the end and I was like, we got to talk about this. So let's talk about the future now. Matt G, to answer your question, you were saying she should be in the movie. Well, not confirmed. Saying this is in the rumor mill, but recently
We're
the
starting the rumor right here. Rumor it
yeah,
around. Share this on your social media. Quake movie 2024 when Trump doesn't leave.
so they were talking to they had an interview with the person who plays Daisy slash Sky, and she talked about that the MCU was actually figuring out where they were going to put Quake in the bigger Marvel universe. Now, to me, by that statement, and we're going to kind of dissect this and speculate, would that kind of hint to you that maybe not a solo movie, but an introduction, possibly seeing what the audience feels, and then maybe a movie, or having her pop up in the Avengers and being like, "Yeah, I lead the Inhumans." Where do you think this little tease is leading?
Oh, the way that you read that, the first thing that popped into my head was Disney Plus series.
Oh yeah, I think she's definitely getting a series, but I don't know, man. They're saying, okay, now here's where I make this connection. They're saying too that they
But
want to connect the Disney Plus series directly to the movies. So with
no, I
that, if
get
they
that because I don't understand why you can't do uh let's do it directly like this. You're going to have what is it? The multiverse of madness, right?
Yep.
Okay. So as far as I understand it, isn't Scarlet Witch the second lead in that movie?
Yep.
Okay. Is she not also the lead in uh her own TV show?
Yep.
Okay. So they're already doing that. Why can't you do a Falcon and the Winter Soldier movie that is directly connected to the TV show that they're doing, plus also fits into the MCU? And what you suggested before, how they're going to have Quake show up in another person's movie, maybe in just a small role, like she shows up at the end or in the middle or something like that. So she's not one of the named characters that's supposed to be winning you the fight per se. But, you get a couple scenes with her where you're like, oh, that's another hero we can add to the team. Like if you put her in a movie as much as Spider-Man was in Civil War, like he's not in very much, but he's in it enough that you're like, yep, he's gonna be doing some stuff in the future. And sure shit, he was. Fucking got his
Yeah. I
own
mean,
billion-dollar movie. Like he's doing plenty of stuff. So I don't
I
see
mean,
why she couldn't be introduced in any one of the movies. Just fucking pick one. Pick any of them. She could be introduced in fucking Shang-Chi. You have no fucking idea.
yeah, and I mean, with this Corona and them reshuffling stuff, and her mentioning that, and this interview was done during the lockdown. So this is a rather recent interview they did with her talking about Shield and what her next upcoming projects are and things like that.
Okay.
She's
Now,
still signed on to the MCU.
right, now that I've, babbled long enough for my brain to actually come up with a reasonable theory instead of just throwing the spaghetti at the wall, do you want to hear a reasonable theory?
Absolutely.
I don't know what movie it's going to be in. I would guess that it would be in Captain Marvel 2, but I don't know for sure. Where is Nick Fury right now?
In space.
Where is Daisy Johnson right now?
In space.
Where is Captain Marvel right now?
In space.
There you go.
Yeah, see, that would be a great and Nick Fury was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I mean,
Exactly.
he dealt with Coulson, but he knew Coulson's team. They even mention like he gets into an argument with Coulson when he's mad about Tahiti, and he said, "I'm the one who gave the okay over your damn team or whatever." You know what I mean? And
Right. And he knows who she is. He knows.
oh yeah, yeah, he knows everyone. So it would stand to reason
So
that
I don't see
that
it
would
being too much of a stretch that the three of these people, being that two of them obviously have to be on a spaceship, whereas the other one possesses some form of butthole hyperdrive, so she can just, I guess, fly around on her own. Why can't they meet up someplace out there and whoop some Kree ass?
and and here's another thing. Now that we got the wheels turning, and you bring up some great points, the Kree was introduced in Agents of Shield. I would say they did more with the Kree than the movies did before Captain Marvel.
Absolutely.
Like everybody
Like
thinks
I
that the
had to look
Kree
up who the
appeared
hell
in
the Kree
Captain Marvel.
were.
Yeah, like they think they appeared in Captain Marvel, but when you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they actually appeared way before Captain Marvel because a Kree warrior fought Hive in season like 2 or 3.
Well, I
I always
mean,
get them confused. I think it's the
well,
end of 2.
you have one Kree in Guardians of the Galaxy, but yeah, you don't understand their civilization or anything just by seeing. Well, I guess you see two of them because you see Ronan and then you see the one, I guess, minister douchebag that what's her face is talking to over the intercom.
Yep. And I mean, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. actually did a pretty good job kind of fleshing out their civilization and everything else and giving more about the politics and the intergalactic alliance and the stuff like that and the different houses. So, I mean, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. actually dove more into the Creed than the actual movies did. So, you would already have someone who has knowledge about the Kree, being Daisy, in space already. So it wouldn't be a stretch to have her jump into that fight, being like, "Oh yeah, we fought these guys on Earth." You know what I mean? Or
Yeah,
I
if I
know this
take them out
house.
now, they can never come to Earth and do what I saw in the future.
Yeah, so I mean, it would actually be totally possible for them to put her in any of those kind of intergalactic movies. I mean, hell, she could even meet up with the Guardians of the Galaxy. I mean, they're all in space. And she has
Right.
traveled in season 6. Remember, half of that season, her, Fitz, and Gemma were traveling the galaxy. They weren't even, they had their own arc, literally traveling different solar systems, and she was building her reputation as Quake because she was killing those people saying
Yeah,
that
so there are even who knows how many systems out there that know the name Quake already.
so you can introduce her like, yeah, you know, there's this
So
person going around.
what would be real funny, and it's Marvel, so they might do something like that. If it's either Captain Marvel or Nick Fury, one of them two, so it's somebody that can have a reaction to it where you're like, oh, what the hell? Be like, oh yeah, there's this real badass Quake, and they don't know that her name is Quake. Like that was given to her, I don't know in what season, but I don't know if Nick Fury would know that the name is Quake. Like he'd been
No,
relatively out of the loop.
yeah, he wouldn't know that her code name was Quake because that came after he had to escape. You know, during the Winter
Right.
Soldier arc. That's when she started
Maybe
going by Quake. And they
and
really wouldn't
then
know the Destroyer of Worlds.
she walk out of the back or something like that, and he'd be like, "Son of a bitch, this is Quake, mother!" And then you cut away.
Yeah, because like also too, they could kind of all almost play her up as a villain because remember she kind of used that Destroyer of Worlds a couple of times to put the fear into those, you know, into the
Fuck
alias.
yeah!
She'd be like, I'm the destroyer of worlds. So they could be like, oh, there's this destroyer of worlds going around, you know, starting stuff and kind of do a lead in like that. And then most of the audience who hasn't seen S.H.I.E.L.D. would be like, oh, is this the new big bad? And then you introduce her. And that would be like the most ultimate, like, mic drop right there. Cause you'd be like, we'd get it because we know who the destroyer of worlds are. But people wouldn't understand who that was, and then you show her.
Oh man, that'd be great, man. There's some great
Oh, that
ideas. Send them along to comicbook.com. Get the ball rolling.
yeah. You know, once you start a rumor there, it becomes absolute truth.
That's right.
Like we heard from online sources that Quake is going to be in the next Marvel movie, and then Kevin's going to be like, "Shit! How did they find out? Who are these two
I mean, that's all.
dashing?"
I mean, all you got to do is guess everything, and you'll always be right.
Anyways, I'm gonna kind of start to wrap things up. Oh God, we did a 2 hour thing. I got another hour long thing we got to do for
It's okay.
our
We have an
next.
hour in between.
But anyways, yeah, this has been fun. If you gave up at season 5, look, I can understand, but I'd say give it a shot. Watch season 6. If not, just to see Bad Coulson was absolutely fantastic. And you know, you're almost there. If you've invested your time to season 5, you should not stop at season 5. It's not a Game of Thrones situation. Like if you invested your time in Game of Thrones, stop at season 5. Don't. That's the end. don't don't watch 6, 7, or 8. It wasn't worth it. No, when's the one where
Oh,
Cersei
I
wins?
think you can still watch 6. You don't
Yeah, I
want
think
you got to watch 6. You got to get the Battle of the Bastards.
no, that was 5, wasn't it?
Nah, man, that's in 6. That's when he
Oh
gets
yeah,
his dick cut or not. Yeah, he gets his dick cut off and then or no, he just gets his face ripped off by his dogs.
oh yeah. So then you have to see 6. But
Yeah, you got to
uh
go up to Jon Snow getting murdered.
yeah, you got to go that far. I'd even go to where Cersei wins. That was my ending for Game of Thrones. Like Cersei blew up
Yeah, when
the
after she
septum.
blows up the sept, that was great.
Yeah, I was like, oh, Cersei wins. That's the end of the show. Nothing else happened after that. So
Yeah, don't worry about the zombies. They don't do anything special.
yeah, don't worry about Daenerys ending. She just is always going to Westeros. Don't worry about Jon Snow. He'll be an idiot by the end of it. Just keep it right
Per
there.
usual.
Anyway,
Unlike
anyways,
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., you can watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and you will enjoy all of it, unless you
yes,
enjoyed none of it, and then you're a fool.
yeah, definitely. If you stopped, if you stopped at 5, I would suggest go through, do 5, 6, and 7. It was worth it. The ending was satisfying. We give it about the high nines. We're sitting at a 9 to 9.5, maybe even for me a 9.8, just because of
I was just
God
talking
help me.
about the very last episode.
Yeah, the very last episode was amazing, and I would say this would fall into what John Campea likes to say: emotional weight. It had a lot
Fucking
of
hell.
emotional weight. Anyways, thanks everybody. Shortly here in an hour, we'll be back to do my show with my dad on it, and we're gonna talk about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and Charles Manson and the true life versus the movie, and why the movie is actually quite brilliant, and the full story behind the most notorious crazy killer ever, and what sets him apart from other serial killers, why he in particular is very unique. So we're gonna
Because he
dive
wasn't
into
from
all that.
Wisconsin.
Yeah. And you know, you'll be surprised. My dad it loves this stuff. He's got a lot of interesting facts that I didn't even know about Charles Manson,
Oh,
and
sweet. I'll
it'll
be
be
able to just sit here on mute.
yeah, you know, when he goes on his facts. But anyways, thank you everybody for showing up. We love you. Remember, here in the fandom zone, we are the Shield.
What?